put the reverb down. Otherwise,
Reverb is
Speaking through dimensions.
right in front of the ladies more devotees are coming.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Yeah, otherwise I can also just speak. Okay, we'll try and then we'll see. So yes, we're very happy to be here with all of you, with friends, with devotees of Krishna. Krishna says, Naham Distami Vaikunthe Yoginam Hridayeshu Va. I'm not just in Vaikuntha, I'm not just in the hearts of the yogis. Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhakta, where all my devotees are chanting together, Tatra Tista Vinarada. I'm always in that place. So Krishna comes when we all come together, and Krishna is very happy. This is our life. This is the safest place in the world to be in the association of other devotees, hearing and chanting. It's said that when we come together like this, then we forget about everything, at least for the time being. What happens when you walk out the door? That we can't guarantee. But at least for the time being, you can forget about everything, and you can just be here, be in the vibration of Hari Kirtan, Hari Katha. This is our life, and I'm sure Krishna will reveal himself to you in many ways if you tune in. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Namaste. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Hare Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Hare better if I
Better.
sit?
Yeah.
And is it better with the mic or without the mic?
Without.
Far is better.
Far
from the mic.
Yeah. This.
Okay, so Hare Krishna everyone. We're really happy to be here and so this evening we have some time and we can speak about anything you'd like to speak about. So sometimes we come with a plan of what we're going to say and what we're going to speak about, and sometimes we leave it a little bit spontaneous. So there are a few options here. Option number one is we can, if you have some questions, because I know you all have been studying Srimad Bhagavatam, beautifully displayed here. So if you like, we can do some questions and answers. Or if you like, you can tell me, speak, and then I'll just see what comes to my mind. And the third option, life is full of options. The third option is we can just, you can pick a random verse between you and we can see what Krishna wants to tell us today. So this is a democratic country and we live in a democracy, so you know the three options, A, B, C. So option A is question and answer. Just get a show of hands who's interested in that.
Can we also
No
ask,
questions.
after the options, maybe we can decide?
I gave the three options, right? Option A is you do questions. Option B is you tell me just to say what's on my mind. And option number 3 is we all pick a verse together.
Oh,
Okay, so A, not so many questions, huh? B?
B.
Oh, B. You want to know what's on my mind? Oh my God.
When's some time for questions?
It's some type of question, meaningful question. You want to know what's on my mind? Once it was 6:55, we finished japa time. We're just about to finish japa time, and one devotee, and he came up to me and he said, "My mind during japa time is like a horror movie." The mind. Okay, let's see where we want to go. Actually, when I first walked in today and I saw, the first thing that caught my eyes, even before I saw the deities, I have to be honest, is I saw this beautiful display of the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is actually Srila Prabhupada's greatest gift to all of us. I make an argument sometimes, I like to argue, and I make an argument sometimes that of all of Srila Prabhupada's projects in the world, translating the Srimad Bhagavatam was his most important project. You want to know my arguments?
Please.
Argument number 1 is that this was the project that Srila Prabhupada spent the most amount of time on, isn't it? Because Srila Prabhupada was doing it from the very first days till the very final breath. Agree?
Yes.
Argument number 2. This is the project that Srila Prabhupada worked on every single day. Agree?
Yes.
Argument number 3.
Oh, I
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Argument number 3 is that this is the project that Srila Prabhupada worked on during the most valuable hours of the day. In the early morning, before the world was moving, in the most peaceful time of the day, Srila Prabhupada opened up all of his books and he was translating Bhagavatam. Argument number 4. Srila Prabhupada wanted to come to America, but he said, I'm not going to go to America until I've translated the first canto of the Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada didn't feel like he could really go and give something substantial unless he had the Bhagavatam in his hand. So Srimad Bhagavatam is really Srila Prabhupada's gift to us. When Srila Prabhupada, he rang his bell in the middle of the morning and middle of the night, and Guru Kripa Prabhu was his servant at that time, so he came running in, kind of rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. So Prabhupada was ringing quite frantically, so he thought it must be something serious. So he came into the room and he sat down and he said, Srila Prabhupada, what, everything okay? What can I do? Srila Prabhupada just looked at him and he said, why are you sleeping? He said, well, Prabhupada, I mean, it is the middle of the night after all. Prabhupada said, it's also the middle of the night for me. I'm not sleeping. He said, yeah, but Prabhupada, we were busy all day long doing different services. Prabhupada said, I was also busy all day long doing so many things. So then Guru Kripa was running out of argument. He said, well, Srila Prabhupada, you're a pure devotee. We're not. Prabhupada said, why are you not a pure devotee? So he was baffled. He said, Prabhupada, what shall I do? Prabhupada said, go back to sleep. Very interesting. Srila Prabhupada was just awake while the rest of the world was sleeping. And not just that, the Gita actually says, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam, that what is night for the conditioned soul is the time of awakening for the introspective sage. So Prabhupada was just awake to the reality and he was trying to wake up the world. And so Srila Prabhupada really gifted us the Bhagavatam. In our life, the Bhagavatam actually has to become our best friend. Sanatana Goswami, he composes a beautiful prayer. Madeka bandhu madsangyen madguru man mahadana man nishtaraka madbhagya madananda namostute. Sanatana Goswami, he was actually a great devotee, of course, as we know, an eternal associate of Krishna. But in his younger years, he desired very much to have the Bhagavatam. At that time, the Bhagavatam was not so easily accessible. So one day in a dream, he had a dream, and in that dream, a small Brahmin boy came to him and gifted him the Bhagavatam. So he was ecstatic, he was so happy, he was over the moon. But then he woke up. Oh no, it was only a dream, I didn't get the Bhagavatam, I'm so unfortunate. And he was lamenting. But then that very day, a Brahmin boy came to him and actually gave him the Bhagavatam. And from that day, the Bhagavatam became Sanatana Goswami's best friend, such that he said, Malaika Bandhu, I only have one friend in this world, real friend. And that's the Bhagavatam. Mad Sangin, the Bhagavatam is my constant companion through everything I go through in life. Mad Guru, the Bhagavatam is my spiritual teacher. Man Mahadhana, the Bhagavatam is my greatest wealth. Man Nishtaraka, the Bhagavatam is lifting me up. Mad Bhagya, the Bhagavatam is the best thing that happened to me in my life. Namostute, therefore I offer my respects to Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is actually our best friend because Bhagavatam gives us help and it gives us happiness. If you boil down what a friend is in your life, a friend is one that gives you help and a friend is one that gives you happiness. And so the Bhagavatam, the first thing that it does is it gives you help. Because whatever you're going through in life, you can just turn to some part of the Bhagavatam and you can find a personality, a pastime, a passage, or some aspect of Srila Prabhupada's writing which will help you to deal with that situation. For example, if you feel like you've made a mistake, don't worry, turn to the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam and read about Bharat, who was right there, up there, on the level of Bhav, and then he made a mistake. He got attached to a diya. And how did he deal with that mistake? How did he respond? How did he recover from that mistake? The Bhagavatam teaches us. In your life, maybe someone may pass away. Don't worry. Turn to the Bhagavatam. Maybe you can go to the 6th canto and you can read about how Chitraketu, who so much wanted a son, got a son. But they warned him the son will be Harsha, Shoka. He'll be the cause of your happiness and also lamentation. And indeed at one point that son died. But then Angira and Narad came to Chitraketu and gave him the bigger picture of how to deal with loss, how to grieve. And so Chitraketu was pacified. So if you're going through that, don't worry, turn to the Bhagavatam. Maybe some of you are ISKCON managers, or maybe you're organizers. Don't worry, turn to the 2nd canto and find out about how Brahma, the ultimate manager, what he had to go through, isn't it? When Brahma wanted to create the universe, it was like, create the universe. How do I do it? And what was the answer that came from the ether? Tapa. 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 Austerity. So sometimes it's like that in ISKCON. Prabhu, you're now in charge of the project. Where's all the people? Where's all the money? Tapa. You do the austerity now. You figure it out. Isn't it? It's difficult when you're managing. Even Brahma, see, he had, what did Krishna tell him to do? Procreate, create all the living beings in the universe. So who were Brahma's first sons? The Chatursana, isn't it? The 4 Kumaras. And the 4 Kumaras, they were Brahma's own sons, his own very dear sons. And Brahma came to them and said, you know, Brahma, my dear sons, the Lord has entrusted me with creating the universe and procreating. So now I've created you, and my desire is that you will also procreate on my behalf. And what did they say? No, Brahmacharya. We want to stay as celibate monks. No, but this is Krishna's instruction and you're my sons. You should help me. No, I'm sorry. We will stay as celibate sons. We will not. So sometimes you're ISKCON manager and you're thinking like, why is no one listening to me? Why is no one following? Why is no one cooperating? Once I met one devotee and he said to me, Srila Prabhupada said our love for each other will be shown by how much we cooperate. So you should cooperate with me. So just see, Brahma had to go through it, non-cooperation. And even when Brahma did a great job, I mean, he created 14 planetary systems, he created all these species, he created such a wonderful creation. Even when he done a great job, what happened to him? The gopis came. And what did the gopis do? They complained. They said, you think you're such a good creator? In our eyes, you made a big blunder. Why? 14 planetary systems, millions of species of lives, complexities, multi-dimensional universe. What's the problem? You created eyes which have eyelids, and these eyelids blink. And when they blink, it means for a moment we can't see Krishna. You messed it up. Of course, transcendental criticism, but know that when you're a manager, when you're a leader, people will criticize you, whatever you do. There was a son and a father, and they had a horse. So they walked through the first village, and they were guiding the horse. At the end of the village, they heard all the villagers, oh, look at these silly husband and son. One of them can sit on the horse and relax, and they're just walking with the horse. They don't take advantage. No intelligence. Oh God, everyone's criticizing. So on the next village, the son sat on the horse. At the end of that village, they heard all the villagers. Oh, just see this young boy. You know, he's young, he's fit, he's healthy, and his father, he's making him walk while he sits on the... Oh my God, you can't escape criticism. So in the third village, the father decided to sit on the top, and the son went down. And so at the end of that village, they heard the villagers criticize, oh, just look at this man, he's supposed to be the protector, the carer of his child, but he takes the easy seat and he makes it. Oh my God, what can we do here? So in the final village, they decided maybe we should both own the horse. And then you can imagine what people were saying at the end of that one, right? So whatever you do in this world, someone will criticize. So sometimes we feel very bad. Oh no, why is this happening to me? Again, turn to the Bhagavatam. Everyone had to go through it already. Sometimes we want to learn things. How do we lead well? Then we turn to the 5th canto and we read about Prithu. Because yes, Prithu was such a wonderful carer of the people underneath him. He said he was selfless like the rain. He was strong like the mountains. And he was deep like the ocean. This is what it means to be a leader. Sometimes something unexpected happens in our life. Unexpected news. Health challenge. Then we can turn to the 1st canto and then we read about Parikshit. How did Parikshit respond to the news that he only had 7 days left to live? What kind of grace and resilience did he embody which helped him to respond to that? So can you begin to see how the Bhagavatam is your best friend? Because the Bhagavatam is giving you help. The Bhagavatam is teaching you how to navigate the complexity of life, how to overcome all the obstacles. It's very beautiful. But not just that, the Bhagavatam is giving you happiness. You see? In one ancient Sanskrit verse, it said the Vedas teach us like a teacher teaches a child, or like a father teaches a child, in a very instructive way. Then they say the Puranas teach us like a friend teaches another friend. And then they say the Kavya, or the poetry of the Vedas, teaches us like a lover teaches another lover. And then it says the Bhagavatam teaches us like all three. The Bhagavatam can sometimes be very strong. It can just cut your illusion. Sometimes the Bhagavatam can be like a friend, giving you friendly advice. And sometimes the Bhagavatam is like a lover, just charming you by its poetry, by its beauty, by its amazingly intimate descriptions of the personality of Godhead. So like this, the Bhagavatam is giving us so much, so much. Jiva Goswami, he actually gives the reason why Bhagavatam is the most elevated scripture in the world. And he actually mentions 3 points about why Bhagavatam is the most elevated scripture in the world. And he says the first point is that it was written in the author's maturity. Not just that, he says it embodies a conversation in which the listener has the greatest amount of desperation. And he says not just that, but in this conversation, the ones who are inquiring and asking the questions ask the best questions. And therefore, because of these 3 factors, what comes out from the Bhagavatam is the most evolved theology in the world. The first point is that the author wrote it in his maturity, isn't it? Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam sukhamukhat amrita dravya samhitam sarve vedanta saram hi. Of all the Vedanta, Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate is considered the essence, because Vyasadeva, after writing so many literatures, then was still dissatisfied, and then who did he come to? Narad. And Narad said, yes, you're dissatisfied because you haven't brought out the essence, therefore become more mature, become more realized, and bring out the essence. And therefore Vyasa's greatest composition was the Bhagavatam. But not just that, the listener had deep urgency. Parikshit was the listener of the Bhagavatam, and the question that he asked and the desperation that he had to hear meant that the most elevated conversation came about. You see, in an assembly like this, it's not just dependent on the speaker. But really so much is dependent on the audience. Because if the audience is eager, if the audience is enthusiastic, if the audience is desperate, then it's actually their desperation that draws out from the speaker the most profound jewels of wisdom. So therefore, the Bhagavatam is most elevated because Parikshit was so desperate to hear. Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yachrinvatam rasa jnanam svadu svadu pade pade. The sages, they say, we never tire hearing about this Bhagavatam. Svadu svadu pade pade. At every step we're tasting more and more. This is not just gyan, this is not just knowledge, but this is rasa gyan. It's full of relish. And therefore, the listener was so eager. And then Jiva, he says, not just that, but the speaker, his inquiry was the most important inquiry. Because who was the speaker, at least in one of the conversations? Shonaka is the questioner, right? He's the one asking the question. And what was his question? What is the greatest good for all living beings? And so his question was so pertinent. Therefore, when he asked this question, the sages looked back at him and said, Sutta looked back at him and said, Munayo saduprishtoham bhavadbir lokamangalam yakrita krishna samprashna yenatama suprasiditi. Your question is wonderful, because this question is for the benefit of the entire humanity for generations to come. So like this, the Bhagavatam comes to us by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. And so, if we're wise, then we will invest in this relationship. Sometimes when you open the Bhagavatam, you don't immediately feel connected to it. Sometimes when you open the Bhagavatam, the philosophy doesn't always seem to be something relevant to you. Sometimes when you open the Bhagavatam, it just seems to be very repetitive. Dare I say it, sometimes we open the Bhagavatam and we feel bored. Is it? If you're honest. Is it sometimes? No?
Sometimes we open the Bhagavatam.
Or the rest of you will give a seminar on truthfulness. One devotee said to me, every devotee gets 7 hours of sleep, 6 hours at night and 1 hour in the Bhagavatam. We are speaking all the time Bhagavatam, so we know, we can see everyone, what's going on. It's not so easy sometimes to connect with Bhagavatam. I'm not a scholar, I'm not a philosopher, I'm a very simple person. No, Bhagavatam is for everyone. Maybe one day, just as we're so eager to look at our WhatsApp messages, maybe as eager as we are to open our emails, maybe as eager as we are back in the day for those of you who are over 40, 50 years old and received a love letter, maybe just as eagerly we'll open the Bhagavatam and perceive it like that. But yes, this is Krishna's love letter, because that's ultimately what the Bhagavatam is. Shrimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. The ultimate purpose of Bhagavatam is to awaken love, pure love, the deepest love, the most confidential type of love. Sometimes it's said that the 12 cantos of Bhagavatam are the body of Krishna. And then it's said that the 10th canto is Krishna's heart. Sometimes it's said face, but other commentators say it's Krishna's heart. And then some commentators go on to say, in that 10th canto, there is the Rasa Panchadhyaya, Krishna's pastimes of love, the divine dance of love with the gopis, chapters number 29 to 33 of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. And they say, if the Bhagavatam is Krishna's body and the 10th canto is Krishna's heart, then the 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela are the 5 life airs of Krishna. Because that's love in separation, love in its highest intensity, love in which everything else is forgotten and one just absorbs their heart and mind in Krishna. So we're learning about this love. We don't have so much love. Once there was one Mataji, she came to Prabhupada, she was newly married, and Prabhupada said, "Who do you love more, Krishna or your husband?" And her husband was also sitting right there. So she was backward, Krishna or my husband, Krishna or my husband. And then you know what happened? She just looked down and she started crying and she said, "Actually, Prabhupada, I don't love any of them." We are impoverished in love. We use the word love so cheaply. I love orange juice. I love this. I love that film. We don't know what love is. Love is very, very deep. Love is something that completely consumes your whole consciousness. We try to love the things of this world. We try to love the people of this world. We try to create situations in this world which we think will awaken love. And then all it leads to is a whole bunch of frustration. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you threw it away. And all these songs, lamentation, frustrated love. So the Bhagavatam comes along and says, no, you must love, you must find love. So you're looking for the right thing in the wrong place. Therefore, approach Vrindavan. Approach Krishna in Vrindavan and try to get to know Krishna. Maybe, just maybe, you can start trying to speak to Krishna. And maybe if you feel inspired, you can maybe try to serve him. And maybe you'll come face to face with Krishna. And maybe, like we were talking about yesterday, Krishna may just steal your heart. And in this way, the Bhagavatam gives us the greatest gift. So we're so fortunate. Nowadays we have the Bhagavatam, the big volumes, the small volumes, the one volume, the e-Kindle volume, the online Veda-based volume, so much access. But I'm happy that at least they're out of their plastic cover. Many times we go to homes and the Bhagavatam is still in the plastic cover. In many Indian families, they put everything in plastic. When I was young, my family used to do that. The sofas were in plastic, the remote control was in plastic, everything was in plastic because they didn't want to, stain anything. So it's okay, you don't need to keep the Bhagavatam in the plastic. You have to open it, you have to read it. You see, there will come in a time in our life when everything else will have to stop. There will come a time in our life when maybe our physical abilities will be taken away. There will be a time in life where ultimately the only thing we'll be able to take shelter of is Hari Kirtan and Hari Katha. And at that time, it all depends on how much taste you have. At that time, if you have in your life invested in your relationship with the Bhagavatam, if in your life you've invested in a relationship with the holy name of Krishna, then when it comes to that point, you won't feel frustrated, you won't feel vacant, you won't feel like there's no reason to live anymore. Because in those moments, you'll just learn that, yes, my ultimate shelter is the Bhagavatam, and my ultimate shelter is the holy name. And in that way, we'll be able to remain happy and satisfied in our life. So these are some of the things which are on my mind. Ask me what's on my mind. And these are some of the things that we're trying to do in our life. Let me pause there and see whether we can take some questions from you, or whether you have any comments, or whether there's something you'd like to hear about more. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your wonderful association, this class and thoughts. You were saying that you were actually saying just now that when you invest in your time with the Bhagavan time, with the holy names, then that will carry a lot of benefit. But sometimes it happens that you are very much enthusiastic to invest, and then it waters down again. So what should we do in that case? Because I feel like I'm investing and then I am not investing. You know, it's like treating someone, or in the relationship, you're treating the other person actually very poorly, because you keep taking, but you're not actually committing or giving back.
Thank you. We are animals of the herd. We are always walking together. There's an African proverb: if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk with many. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he tells, there was one Bengali poet, and in Jagannath Puri he told him, Jaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnaveda Stane Ekanta Ashraya Kare Chaitanya Charana. He said, if you want to learn Bhagavatam, if you want to relish Bhagavatam, if you actually want to enter into the mysteries of Bhagavatam, then you have to hear from a Bhagavata. You have to hear from someone who has taste. You have to hear from someone who has relish. And if not that, at least you should come together. Satam prasangan mamavidya samvido. When you hear and chant and study together eagerly, inspiring each other to continue investing, then that kind of study of the Bhagavatam bears fruit. So in our life, we're always struggling with determination. Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says, Durgame patimain dhasya, my path is very difficult. Skalat pada gater muhu, I'm slipping again and again. But the stick of the mercy of the Vaishnavas is holding me up and helping me continue. So sometimes, somehow we have to create a network where we're supporting each other to continually invest, where we're inspiring each other to continually go deeper, where we're together discovering what's in the Bhagavatam and then sharing with each other. We have to create this culture. This is actually spiritual culture. Your best friend is the person who comes to you and tells you about Bhagavatam and inspires you about Bhagavatam. If you have friends like that, you're very fortunate. That's what we need to do. So that's one thing I would say. Find out some people who have some taste. We need people who have taste in our life. They asked Radha Govinda Maharaj once, how should I read Bhagavatam? And he said, I don't know how to read Bhagavatam, but I can tell you how to relish Bhagavatam. Very nice. I don't know how to read, I relish it. Muhora ho, Rasika, Bhuvi Bhavuka. Oh Rasika, oh great person of taste, come and drink the fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam. Relish it, drink it. But we are not Rasika. We don't have the good taste, isn't it? So no good taste. You see, like sometimes someone joins a Hare Krishna temple, like an ashram, and so they live as a monk or as a brahmacharini for many years. So when you live in the temple, you just wear like dhoti or sari or whatever. And then when they go outside, they have to start wearing civilian clothes again. But because they've been out of the world for like 10 years, 15 years, they haven't moved on, so they're wearing clothes that people used to wear like in the 80s or something. Anything, no dress sense, Devotees don't know how to dress. No taste. So how will you relish Bhagavatam? Only if you have taste, only if you're in contact with that. So we need people who have taste in our life. Once there was one GBC, he came to the meeting, GBC meeting, and then right in front of everyone, he said, I have a confession to make. Everyone thought, oh no, it's another one of those. So he said, I have a confession to make. Oh no. So then he got the mic and he said, I can't chant 16 rounds. Oh no, GBC, can't chant 16 rounds. And then he said, because when I chant 16, I just have to carry on chanting. I have to go to 20, 25, 32. I cannot just chant 16. Okay, cool. That was a relief, you know? Yes. This is a movement of taste. We are the Krishna consciousness movement. That means we are not just here to move Krishna consciousness and spread the message out there, but it means we are the movement in which the individuals are being moved by Krishna consciousness. We have to be the real thing. We have to be a living theology of the Bhagavatam. Like they came to Srila Prabhupada and they said, one devotee said, Prabhupada, there are 12 Mahajans, we think you're the 13th Mahajan. Prabhupada said, very good, you become the 14th. that was Prabhupada's mood. That we have to show people that we're actually becoming absorbed in something higher. That we're actually experiencing Krishna consciousness. And so this is a great preaching for us. One time one devotee said something to me which actually changed the way I approach spiritual life. And you know what he said to me? He said, it's very good to be absorbed in your service. But do you know it's also a service to be absorbed? And that changed the way I look at life. It's not, of course, we must be absorbed in service, but it's also a service to be absorbed in Krishna. Because at the end of the day, we can't take the world to a higher place than what we've reached internally ourselves. So we have to be experiencing Krishna. We have to be feeling Krishna. Because if you do prachar means to preach, right? But you don't have achar, it's not working in your life for you. And if you take achar away from prachar, then we tell people if you take achar away from prachar, all you have is PR. Going out to the world and telling people chant, chant, chant. And they're saying can't. You say chant, chant, chant. And they're looking at you, but are you chanting? Are you happy? Are you experiencing Krishna? Are you there? Prabhupada told Hari Sauri Prabhu actually. He said preaching is easy business. Just show people how happy you are. It's not so easy to be happy. For that, you have to be experiencing Krishna. So our movement is for that, to experience Krishna. You see, right now, what we do with the Bhagavatam is we approach the Bhagavatam, we open it, we read it, and we get some knowledge. And then what we do is we close the Bhagavatam, and then we come out in our life and we try to live that knowledge. That's good, isn't it? We should do that. Right now, what we're doing is we're going into the Bhagavatam, getting some knowledge, and then coming out of the Bhagavatam into the real world. But later on, what we want to do is go into the Bhagavatam and just stay there. No, but can you come? No, I'm here. And there are I spoke to one devotee a few weeks ago, and I asked him, he's actually an investment banker, and I asked him, what did you do on Sunday? He said, I was just at home. I said, well, what were you doing? He said that I was reading Bhagavatam in the morning around 10 o'clock, and then I said, and then what did you do? He said, I was just reading some more. And I said, what? And he said, I carried on reading. I said, what time did you stop? He said, 11 o'clock at night. We're happy to know there are people in this world who can just relish the Bhagavatam for 13 hours in a row. I'm happy to know that. Maybe one day we can get that fortune to be able to stay with the holy name, to stay with Krishna. If you know the art of how to chant Hare Krishna, then the moment your hand enters your bead bag, then you have a whole other world to live in, away from this crazy world. If you know that art of how to connect. So, yes, we have to invest. And to do that, we have to find people who have taste, and we have to come together with people who are sincerely trying to develop taste. Sadhu Sangha has two meanings. Sadhu means a perfect person. So Sadhu Sangha means elevation with a perfect person or a very elevated person. But the double meaning of Sadhu Sangha is Sadhu Sangha can also mean two imperfect people coming together perfectly. So sometimes there are people who say, no, there's no Sadhu Sangha around, there's no pure devotees, there's no elevated, everyone's Kanista. That means they're also Kanista. No, there's no Sadhu Sangha because there's no elevated Vaishnavas. Doesn't matter. If there are sincere Vaishnavas and you come together perfectly, Vedati, Pratigranati, Bhuyam, Akyati, Prachati, and you engage in real spiritual activity, that is also Sadhu Sangha. So we need Sadhu Sangha in our life. This is why ISKCON was created. To facilitate real association, deep association, inspiring association. Something else. Anyone else? Questions, comments, thoughts on your minds, doubts? Yes.
It's maybe stupid question, perhaps it's not really relevant, but it's just something I was curious about. Because I heard when you're in Vrindavan, when you do some skadas in Vrindavan, it is more intense or more merciful or something like that, if I explain it well enough. But does it also have a difference being initiated in Vrindavan or outside Vrindavan? Does it have any significance? Does it like mean that you're also born again but in Vrindavan? Or?
Vrindavan is special. Vrindavan, they say, is the playground of God. So Vrindavan is a very, very sweet place. Once I was leaving Vrindavan, and there was one Brajabasi. So he said to me, where I said, I'm going. He said, going where? He said, going to London. He was not impressed. I said, yes, I have to go, I have service, He said, no. All reality outside of Vrindavan is a dream. And all dreams inside of Vrindavan are a reality. He said, you are here. Why are you leaving? I said, but I don't have the vision. Vishaya Chaliya Shubhabiman. Narottam says, only unless you're free of sense gratification, then you can see Vrindavan. So I told him, I have to go to London, I have to do my service. And maybe I'll get purified, and then maybe I'll come back to Vrindavan and be able to see Vrindavan with purified eyes. Why am I saying all this? Vrindavan is very, very sacred. Vrindavan is the Leela Stali. But Jiva Goswami says there's only one more place which is as holy as the Leela Stali, the place where Krishna performed his pastime. There's only one more place which is as holy. And you know what that is? That's also Leela Stali. The only other place that's as holy as your Leela Stali is the Seva Stali, the place where you have.
Oh, yes.
So just as holy as Vrindavan, Dham, Just as holy as Vrindavan Dham is Amsterdam. This is where you have service. You cannot see Krishna. You can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan. If you go to Vrindavan, all you will see is chaos. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, Vrindavan is like a deep ocean full of jewels that is covered by one thin layer of oil. So if you look superficially, you will think, oh, it's an ocean of oil. But if you're able to get a little bit beyond the surface, then you will see, oh no, there are many jewels here. We are sitting at Radha Kund. What are we seeing? We are seeing, having one vision. And then Raghunath Das Goswami in Vilap Kusumanjali, he is having a different vision. You can read it. I tried once. I was sitting in Radha Kund, I was reading his vision, and then I was seeing my vision. It was very different. So, the first thing is, Vrindavan is not just a place. Vrindavan is a state of consciousness, Jiva Goswami says. So if one is living outside of Vrindavan, but one is having very elevated consciousness, then that place becomes Vrindavan. And if one is in Vrindavan, but one is very materialistically minded, then they haven't actually entered Vrindavan. So, things done in Vrindavan have more power, for sure. But remember, Vrindavan isn't just a place, it's a state of consciousness. So what that really means is when you do anything in Vrindavan consciousness, then it has much more effect, much more power. But yes, we take the blessings of Goma Vrindavan and we go there. But ultimately we go to Vrindavan so that we can build the inner Vrindavan within our hearts. So yes, by all means, go to Vrindavan, take the mercy, visit the places, serve the Brijabasis, hear about Krishna, bathe in all the holy places and meet the saintly people. But then ultimately realize that Vrindavan means to capture Krishna in the center of your heart. And that's Vrindavan. So yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, I have a question. Currently I'm talking on my behalf. So I am like having a lot of material attachments, attraction towards sports, also attraction towards our career, building profession and those things. And like throughout the day we are like, I'm occupied with those things only. But we know that we should invest in Krishna and we should try to remember him and all those things. Those are there. Maharaj, my question is like, how can we practically experience Krishna in our day-to-day life? So we know like what pastimes Krishna did in Vrindavan, and with the help of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can get that perspective. But in our day-to-day life, let's say, because the attachment for the worldly things are so high currently, that these things are too much in the mode of goodness, the reading and those things. So sometimes it gets very difficult to connect with that. But in our day-to-day life, like how we can experience Krishna, and what should be like our consciousness, so that we can step by step at least we will start remembering him and progress upwards.
So how do we practically experience Krishna in our day-to-day life? We are not there, we're still attached to so many different things. Our mind is still attracted to the things of this world. So how will we experience Krishna? Therefore Krishna mercifully makes himself available in different places. One of the first things Krishna explains in the Gita, for example, he says, Rasoham apsu konteya prapashmi shashi shoyayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdate purushamishu. Krishna says, I'm the taste in water. Does a day go by where you don't drink water? hardly. Prabhashmi, Shashi, Shuryayo, I'm the light of the sun and the moon. Does a day go by when you don't see the sun? Unless you're living in London. Generally you see the sun. Shabdha ke, I am the sound in ether. Does a day go by where you don't have at least some moments of silence? That sound in ether, that's Krishna. Purusham Nishu, are there days when you don't see, does a day go by where you don't see someone who has some ability, some amazing ability? That's Krishna. Krishna is training us that you can begin to see me everywhere. You can begin to see that behind everything I have invested some Shakti in this which makes it amazing. Krishna says, whatever beautiful things you see in this world, Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Satvam, is just the spark of my splendor. Once Prabhupada was with a brahmachari at the airport and an air hostess walked past, and Prabhupada looked at the brahmachari and he said, beautiful, isn't she? So he was baffled, like, is Prabhupada testing me or is he like... So he was quiet, he didn't know how to respond. Beautiful. So Prabhupada started laughing and said, yes, she's beautiful. But if she's that beautiful, imagine how beautiful Krishna is who created her. Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Satvam. Who is behind all of that beauty? Don't just see the art, see the artist. So Krishna is the supreme artist. So we can begin to look at life, remember things. Prabhupada was seeing Krishna everywhere. Prabhupada was once walking on Laguna Beach and the waves were crashing. So Prabhupada said, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Then they realized Prabhupada was talking about the waves. So they said, oh yes, Prabhupada, that's the waves. No, Prabhupada said. That is the sound of Radharani's heartbeat when she goes to meet Krishna. It was interesting. Prabhupada was already beginning to see. So like we have to begin to see like this. Krishna is not just transcendent. Krishna is immanent. Krishna is not just beyond this world. Krishna is present here in this world. You can begin to see like, yeah, Krishna is. So we see Krishna in material nature. Then Krishna appears to us through the Archa Vigraha. So if you establish a relationship, then Krishna appears, Krishna reciprocates. Once we were walking in Vrindavan, and then there was one very old man. And so he enthusiastically came running out of his house and he said, come, see my Thakurji, come see my Thakurji. So like, so we said, okay. So we came in, and then a tiny place he had, and then in one corner, then there was his altar, very humble. And he was so excited, and then he opened, and then we had darshan of Radha and Krishna. So he was telling us very excitedly about them, and very old. So then we asked, like, how did you begin worshipping? So he said, these were the Radha and Krishna, these deities, murtis, Archa Vigraha were of my mother and father. They were worshipping. He said, but when I was 5 years old, my mother and father suddenly died, both of them. So he said, I was 5 years old. I didn't know where I was, what I will do, how I will carry on in my life. But one thing I knew is growing up, I saw my mother and father worshipping Radha and Krishna, so I thought I must continue worshipping Radha and Krishna. So he said, I started worshipping them when I was 5 years old. And so we asked him, what do you do? So he said, every day I wake them, every day I bathe them, every day I dress them, every day I feed them, every day I sing for them, every day I pray to them, and every day I reveal my heart to them, and every day I show people. Come, see Radha and Krishna. So we said, how long does your worship take every day? He said, I started when I was 5 years old. 9, 10 hours. So he said, and then what did you do after, you know? He said, then I just continued worshiping. When we got out of the house, we asked the person, like, how old is he? He said, this person must be over 80 years old. We realized this is what this person did for 80 years of their life. Just dedicated it, worshipping Radha. If you give that kind of dedication to Krishna, why will Krishna not reciprocate? Why will Krishna not speak to you? Why will Krishna not appear to you? So Krishna appears in this form to give us that mercy. So we can perceive Krishna in the deities, he comes in that form. Then we can perceive Krishna in the events of this world. We used to ask Kadambaka Maharaj, have you ever seen Krishna? I don't know if I've ever seen Krishna's face, but I see his hand every single day. Yes, I see the hand of Krishna, that behind things, Krishna is moving things, Krishna is arranging things, Krishna is... What is Krishna trying to tell me in this situation? So gradually we have to become tuned in. This is what it means to be Krishna conscious. To be Krishna conscious is not just an identity, it's not just even a process. But Krishna consciousness means to be aware of Krishna's presence in my life and how he is actively engaging with me at every moment. So Krishna makes himself available in so many ways. So we have to begin to train our vision. But all of this requires a purified vision, and therefore we have to engage in sadhana. So Rupa Goswami says, Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya sadhya sa sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam riti sadhyata. That if you engage in the practices of sadhana bhakti, committing, Krishna consciousness is not difficult, but the difficult thing is the everyday principle. You see, the process is very simple, but to do it every single day, that's what's hard. Therefore, Madhvacharya, he says, I don't measure someone by what they can do in one day. I measure them by what they do every day. So then Rupa says, if you engage in this way, Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya, the sadhana has the potentiality of bhav. Within these practices of sadhana is the potentiality of bhav or emotion. And that is what will help you to perceive Krishna. So we have to be patient, enthusiastic, we have to be committed. And you already did it in your life. You rose to a high level in your career. That means you must have determination. You established a material position for yourself in this world with a house, with security. That means you must have determination. You have it in you. Now just what you have to do, even if 10% of the determination you spent to do the things of this world, even if 10% of that determination we invest in Krishna consciousness, you'll be flying. You already did it. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, we think, oh yeah, it's just going to happen automatically. No, you have to put effort. Just like you put effort into all the things of this world. So, be patient, be determined, and every day do a little bit more. Even if perfection seems very far away, make sure every single day you're progressing.
What should be the mood when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, especially in situations when, like, I feel saturated? I say this because externally it's easy to project I'm a devotee, like it hardly takes a dhoti, kurta and a gantimala and I can show that I'm a devotee. And even same applies to Srimad Bhagavatam, open a book, spend some time. I can do it for some time but then now I'm in a stage where I feel saturated, that I'm not moving in a way because the mood has been that okay, now I can speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, I can recite some verses, I can give class, I can structurally speak around, but there is no inner relishment of for 2-3 years you study Srimad Bhagavatam and the mood has always been I will talk on Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll give a class, or the mood has not been proper. And now when you said about the service is also to be absorbed, so that has always been the opposite, like you've been absorbed in doing some service, but then all the services are feeling saturated and the mood is saturated, so then there is no taste. So then how to go further and become humble to serve Srimad Bhagavatam?
Firstly, I think you do have more taste than you may give yourself credit for. Sometimes we look at ourselves and we think, I have no taste. Someone once said this, he said someone came to him and said, I have no taste for chanting. He said, but tomorrow if I took your beads away, everyone's beads away, and said, today no one's allowed to chant. I'm sure you'd find someone underneath the desk like chanting or something. Maybe you're more attached than you think. Maybe you have some taste. Maybe you have some love. But that love is coming and going. Therefore, Vishwanath says, Ghana Dadala, thick and thin, sometimes thick, many times thin, coming and going, anishtika, unsteady. So first thing is realize there is some taste there is some relish. There are moments when you read the Bhagavatam where you feel, wow. There are times when you open a page and you think, Krishna is right there speaking to me. There are times when you read it and you think, this is amazing, I've never read anything so beautiful in my life. There are times like that. But it's coming and going. Therefore, what we have to do is make our devotional thicker and thicker. Sweet rice is like you put all the ingredients in, and then what you have to do is keep it on the low heat and keep stirring. You just have to keep stirring for a long time, and it becomes thicker and thicker and thicker. So that's the process of what we're actually trying to do. So now the ingredients are there. It's not necessarily that you need to change anything. You need to keep going. But yeah, these things that we said to you, try to find people who have taste. Try to hear from those who can give you a deeper entrance into the Bhagavatam. You see, when you hear from someone who has taste, what they're doing, what a sadhu is doing is they're not just communicating information to you, but they're communicating their conviction, their taste, their inspiration, their attachment. It's interesting when Mukunda Maharaj first saw Prabhupada, he walked up the Bowery, New York, and he saw Prabhupada and he sat in the lecture. And Prabhupada had such a thick Bengali accent that he couldn't figure it out. But he said, I came out of that lecture, he said, I was convinced. He said, why? He said, because I didn't understand what he was saying. But the urgency with which the tone of his voice and the urgency of his tonality convinced me that this man has something very important to tell the world. I have no idea what it is, but definitely he has something. So when you hear from a saintly person, Bhaktisiddhanta told this actually. There was one Kundan Lal. He was like a military man. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was trying to explain to him, and then he gave him an analogy. He said, just like when you are going to conquer a land, then the army goes in the helicopter, and it goes, and then it hovers, and then it comes into the enemy's land, and then it lands. And as soon as the helicopter lands, the doors open and all the soldiers run out and they go into all the directions and then they take over the whole territory. He was looking at Bhaktisiddhanta and thought, wow, how does he know all this thing? And Bhaktisiddhanta said, Saraswati Thakur said, in the same way, the sound vibration of the Bhagavatam is launched from the mouth of a sadhu. And then what it does is that vibration is launched and then it hovers over your heart. And then if you allow that sound vibration to land in your heart, then when that sound vibration lands in your heart, all the syllables will go to every part of your being and they will conquer your consciousness. So he said, and then he quoted a verse. Tato du sangam utsrija sadhu satseta buddhiman shanta eva syachindanti manovya sangam uktihi. He said the words of a sadhu are like razor sharp. And they can manovyasangam uktibi, they can cut your attachments and very quickly bring you to Krishna. So Mahabharata says, the words of a politician are like butter, but the heart is like a razor. The words of a sadhu are like a razor, but the heart is like butter. So when we hear from those who are, then they may speak strong, they may speak sweet, and in whatever they speak is connecting us. So this is very much our culture. So try to do that. And remember, associate, that's why I'm mentioning this point, because all of you are coming together. But the more each one of you go deeper and then share with each other, then you all go deeper together. And then serve the Bhagavatam. Take the Bhagavatam to others. Try to, in your own words, in your own ways, creatively share what you're learning from the Bhagavatam. That's very beautiful. Then you get deeper entrance. And try to apply what you learn in Bhagavatam. And if you apply what you learn and you change your life, then you will see everything comes alive. So it will work. Give it time and try and do all of these things. Shall we finish now?
What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Of course, all the cantos are beautiful, but usually we have like a canto or a lila that we want to be attracted to.
No one's ever asked me that question. Of course, naturally the 10th canto is very, very sweet because as Gaudiyas we are worshipping Radha and Krishna, and therefore everything Jiva Goswami says in the Bhagavatam is just the preparation to enter into the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. So naturally that's where the Gaudiyas, that's where we find our relish, that's where we find our taste. But I have to say also for me, I feel like the first canto is very, very powerful. Not just because of the story of Parikshit, but because I feel in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, I feel like Srila Prabhupada poured out his whole heart, actually. Srila Prabhupada was not sure whether he'd be able to complete the Bhagavatam, but he completed the first canto, and I feel like when you read the first canto, you feel like Prabhupada just put everything in there and really just just gave so much in that canto. So it's also very, very beautiful. Just keep studying the first canto of the Bhagavatam is very, very nice. So thank you so much for coming, making the time, being here, patiently listening. May become connected with Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's greatest gift to all of us. And may in this way we be the real thing. Like we want to be a movement of individuals who are actually experiencing Krishna. We want to find Krishna in this life. And we find Krishna through Hari Kirtan, Hari Katha. This is where Krishna makes himself so much available for us. So let us take advantage. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
I'll just make a few announcements. Srini is going to put something on the screen very soon. I just got inspiration, Maharaj, that you'll be there for the Sunday feast on coming Sunday, the 30th of April in ISKCON Amsterdam. So, if any of you would like to get a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, please come and approach us on Sunday, and we'll make sure Maharaj signs a personal message for you on Srimad Bhagavatam, your own copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, I know a few people who want to get, so perhaps they're online. But if you also want, please approach me and we'll arrange a box for you. All these books basically, which will transform your lives.
अल्फानंद रंग में भी है